There we go. Let's get into this DC fandom event that's coming
Okay.
up on August 22nd. A little backstory on this: San Diego Comic Con already came through. Ultimately, it really didn't matter. There was no, due to COVID-19, they had the whole thing released online with like almost like 24-hour online panels and like Zoom sessions or whatever. Nothing really was revealed. No one really paid any real attention to it. It's not San Diego Comic Con where you can go to the convention and you see all the big trailers and see the stars, whatever. So for the most part, it was pretty lackluster. So DC got the idea to like do their own press conference, do their own online web seminar to all their future releases, to all their future projects, and so on and so forth. And one of the things I realized for the past few years is that these big press media conferences are kind of going away, even
Hmm.
before COVID-19. I'm not sure if you guys are big gamers, you can remember E3. E3 was like the shit of terms of like gaming events in the world. Do you remember E3?
Of course.
Yeah, like watching G4 and seeing all
Oh
the
man.
booths and the LA Convention Center, seeing all the booths, seeing all the titles, 4 hour waiting time to play the Wii. Like that shit was an event. That shit was like the Super Bowl of video gaming in terms of like, oh my god, these games are coming out next year or whatever. And slowly throughout the years, it's gone smaller and smaller and smaller to now where it's to the point where like Nintendo's pulled out. Nintendo does
Mm.
their own little online streaming thing with Nintendo Direct. Like Sony will pull out. They'll do their own little online event as well. Hell, I remember like 2 years, 3 years ago, they did something for PS4 and you could watch the damn thing in the movie theaters. Like, and San Diego Comic Con is kind of followed the same suit where it's no longer like back in was it 2010 or whatever. We had the whole Avengers cast showed up for San Diego Comic Con and they did a big panel, it's a big reveal. That's slowly getting away where everyone's kind of like shadow dropping a trailer or doing it in house, doing it their own little mini studios where it's not so expensive to go to this big convention and showcase these big titles and big projects to get the attention that you want and eyes on your product. And so, I mean, it's a shame that those kind of things are kind of going away because they have a level of excitement that I don't think you can replicate doing these little mini events, these kind of more corporate, smaller scale events. But I mean, things evolve with the times, and that's just, I guess, the way it is. What do you think about that?
I mean, so I guess the question that I have for you then is: you feel as though the days of, and obviously you can't do it now due to what's going on in the world, but do you feel that the days of these conventions for the fans, and I'm only laughing because of how it sounds, because it's still business at the end of the day.
Right.
Something like I don't know the history of a Comic Con, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna guess that that's something that started out for the fans. It was something that started out as a way for the people who are really the hardcores to get their first taste of what it is that's to come later on. The intentions behind it, I'm sure, were for it to stay for the fans, for the people who are there day one, for the people who are going to be at the midnight premieres and everything like that, for the people who are actually on the line spending their hard earned money to get access to this content in a
Mm.
way that most other people would not be willing to do it. So my question for you is, do you think that those days are over, or are we getting to the point now where it's just going to look different? Maybe not over, but it's just going to take a different form instead of being in person.
Yeah, man. I definitely think that well, San Diego Comic Con first started out for comics. Before the before the big media outlets, before all these big companies were releasing movie trailers, it was just legitimately a convention for comic fans to someone to bring your collection. You bring your collection, you bring all your tabs of comics, and you literally just sell it. And now it's the only way you could gain access to buying something. Before the days of the internet, you couldn't order something from the internet, come to your house. You actually had to go to the store and find it or know somebody who was selling it. So for the days of the internet, if you wanted something really rare, you had to go to these conventions and hopefully find a seller who would actually sell whatever, Spider-Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man 300 or whatever. And slowly but surely, the big head companies started realizing that could be an avenue to showcase our products to these customers who are most hardcore day one, and they're gonna advertise the damn thing for us. They're gonna be excited and talk to people about it and spread the word. So just over the years, it's gotten more corporate and more commercial, where San Diego Comic Con and a lot of these comic conventions are no longer about comics themselves. They're more about the movies, the TV shows, the actors, actresses, etc., etc. I think it's kind of on its way out. I think that it's cheaper to release these things. Like if DC fandom does really exceptionally well, Marvel's already kind of pulled back on releasing content or having people at San Diego Comic Con, and DC was kind of last year held it down with, I think, some reveals for themselves. But if DC fandom does well, don't be surprised if Warner Brothers pulls out of San Diego Comic Con for next year, because there's no point in spending all this big money and big bucks on attending this big convention center and spending all your money on this advertising and hosting and travel costs when you can do it in-house, in production, in your own studios for cheap. You know what I'm saying? So financially, I think we're turning the table here of how trailers or even kind of music. This can kind of go to music too, where things are just being shadow dropped. You can shadow drop Black Widow trailer #1. It doesn't have to be a San Diego Comic Con for it to get millions of views now. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You can
Right.
drop the trailer for the Snyder Cut at any moment, and it's gonna get its views, regardless if it's at San Diego Comic Con. So, with the way news and media outlets are now presented, it's just different. Like I think you mentioned before how you watched G4, you heard of the Watchmen. Now, I mean, you got that information fast because you saw it on TV. Now you can get it instantly. If there's any hint of a potential trailer, if you're in this so-called quote unquote culture, there's going to be an article made just on the possibility on that there's going to be a shadow drop trailer or a hint of a trailer. You know,
And what might be in the trailer? What
right,
might
right,
be in, even though there isn't a trailer, there'll be an article on what might be in the trailer,
right. You
what
got
to expect.
exactly, exactly. You got guys who are dissecting the cast and looking at set photos, piecing together the damn movie before it even comes out. So, dude, so I think it's changing. I think it is changing. I do think that these big press media conferences are slowly gonna go away for this quote unquote culture, nerd culture. When it comes to gaming, comics, TV shows, whatever, I think it's gonna change to the point where it's no longer going to be something you can attend. And I mean, we're going to be writing stories about how E3 2001, 2002, those are like, a feeling that you won't get sitting at home watching it. Being a hardcore video gamer as a teenager, one of my life dreams was like, oh, I want to go to E3 one year just to experience sitting online for 4 hours to play a game that won't come out for 5 months. You know what I'm saying? But
Hmm.
just the excitement and the rush of being in that energy, being around people, like-minded people, people of interest, similar interests, was
Hmm.
like, it's one of those things that you can't put a price on for certain
Right.
people who like that feeling.
Right. Right.
It's a different age and time, man, for sure,
But
man.